The message arrived at 3 in the morning, Earth time. Ambassador Laura was sleeping in her small quarters on Nexus Prime when her communication device started beeping. She opened her eyes and looked at the screen. The words made her sit up immediately. Emergency assembly. All representatives must attend. No exceptions. Laura had served as Earth's voice in the Galactic Council for 4 years. She had seen many meetings, many debates, and many boring discussions about trade routes and resource sharing. But she had never seen an emergency assembly called in the middle of the night cycle. She dressed quickly and walked through the curved hallways of the station. Nexus Prime was a massive structure that floated in neutral space, far from any home world. It was built by the Council 5,000 years ago, long before humans knew that other life existed in the universe. The walls were made of a metal that glowed with soft blue light. The air smelled clean but strange, filtered through systems designed for dozens of different species. Laura entered the Grand Assembly Hall and found her seat in the back rows. Earth was a new member of the Council, only 12 years since first contact. Humans sat in the cheap seats, far from the center stage where the important species gathered. She counted the representatives as they arrived. 37 species belonged to the Council. Some looked almost human. Others had scales or multiple limbs or bodies that floated instead of walked. They were tall and thin, with gray skin and eyes that never blinked. They were covered in dark armor that grew from their own bodies. They were small and quick, with fur the color of rust. High Chancellor stood at the center of the hall. He was over 300 years old, and he had led the Council for longer than any human had been alive. His voice was cold and sharp when he spoke. "The Void Swarm has been detected at the edge of known space," he announced. "Our scouts confirm that they are moving toward Council territory. We have perhaps 10 years before they arrive." The hall filled with worried sounds. Laura had heard of the Void Swarm. They were a threat from beyond the mapped regions, creatures that consumed everything in their path. No one knew where they came from or what they wanted. They simply destroyed. "The Council must prepare," continued. "We must build a fleet large enough to stop them. This will require resources from every member species. Today, I announce the tribute decree." Laura felt her stomach tighten. She did not like the sound of that word. Read from a document that floated in the air before him. Each species would contribute based on their size and wealth. The older, stronger species would give ships and weapons. The younger species would give resources and soldiers. Then he reached Earth's name on the list. Humanity will provide 60% of their mineral output, 20,000 soldiers to serve under Council command, full access to their agricultural production for the duration of the war preparation. Laura stood up before she could stop herself. "That is impossible," she said. Her voice echoed in the huge hall. "You are asking us to give away more than half of everything we have. You are asking us to send our people to fight under foreign officers. This would cripple our civilization." Looked at her the way someone might look at a small insect. "Humanity is the youngest species in the Council. You have benefited from our protection for 12 years. Now it is time to pay for that protection." "We joined the Council as partners, not as servants," Laura said. "You joined the Council because you had no choice," replied. "Your species was alone in a dangerous galaxy. We offered you safety. Did you think safety was free?" Other representatives watched this exchange with interest. Some looked sympathetic. Most did not. The older species had already agreed to their tribute. They would not speak up for the humans. "I need time to consult with my government," Laura said. "You have 72 hours, said. After that, Earth will either agree to the tribute or Earth will be expelled from the Council. An expelled species receive no protection from anyone." The assembly ended. Laura walked back to her quarters with heavy steps. She sat at her desk and opened a secure channel to Earth. The signal would take almost an hour to reach home, but she had no choice. She recorded her message carefully, explaining everything that had happened. When she finished, she sent it to two people, President and Admiral Cole. Then she waited. The response came 6 hours later. President looked tired on the screen. Admiral Cole stood beside him, his face hard and unreadable. "We received your message," the president said. "The cabinet has been in emergency session since it arrived. Ambassador, I want you to know that we appreciate everything you have done for Earth, but we cannot accept these terms." Laura nodded slowly. She had expected this answer, but hearing it still made her afraid. Admiral Cole spoke next. "Ambassador, I need you to buy us as much time as possible. Tell them we are considering their offer. Tell them anything you need to tell them, but do not agree to anything." "What are you planning?" Laura asked. Cole's expression did not change. "The Council thinks we are weak because we are young. They think we survived this long only because of their protection. They are wrong. Humanity has been preparing for something like this since the day we joined. We hoped we would never need to use what we built, but hope is not a strategy." "They have 400 warships," Laura said. "We have less than 50. "Numbers are not everything," Cole replied. "Trust me, Ambassador, just give us time." The screen went dark. Laura sat alone in her room, surrounded by alien walls and alien air, thinking about what would happen next. Earth was about to refuse the most powerful organization in the galaxy. There would be consequences. But as she sat there in the quiet, she remembered something her grandfather had told her when she was young. He had been a soldier in one of Earth's old wars, before humans knew about the stars. He said that courage was not about having no fear. Courage was about being afraid and standing up anyway. Earth was afraid, but Earth would stand. Laura closed her eyes and began planning what she would say to the Council when the 72 hours ended. The United Nations Council chamber had not been this full in 20 years. Every seat was taken. World leaders, military commanders, scientists, and advisors filled the curved rows that faced the main stage. President stood at the center, looking out at the people who would decide humanity's future. "You have all read the Council's demands," he said. 60% of our minerals, 20,000 soldiers, our entire food surplus. If we agree, we survive as a servant race. If we refuse, we face the combined military power of 36 alien civilizations." Admiral Cole stepped forward. He was 63 years old, with gray hair cut short and eyes that had seen too many battles. He had spent his entire career preparing for a moment like this, hoping it would never come. "Before we vote, there is something the Assembly needs to know," Cole said. "Something that has been classified at the highest level for the past 11 years. He pressed a button on his tablet. The large screen behind him lit up with images that made several people in the room gasp. Ships, human ships, but not like anything the public had ever seen. "When we first made contact with the Galactic Council, we realized something very quickly," Cole explained. "They saw us as children, weak, primitive, useful only as a source of labor and resources, so we made a decision. We would show them exactly what they expected to see." The images changed. Weapons systems, defensive shields, engine designs that seemed impossible. "For the past 11 years, we have been building in secret. Our public fleet is 47 ships. Our real fleet is 112. Our public weapons are 50 years behind Council technology. Our real weapons are decades ahead of anything they have." President watched the reactions in the room. Shock, confusion, some anger. "Why did we hide this?" someone called out. Cole answered without hesitation. "Because if the Council knew what we could really do, they would have destroyed us before we were ready. They would have seen us as a threat instead of a resource. We needed time. We needed to build quietly. And we did." Dr. Porter, the head of Earth's Advanced Research Division, stood up from his seat in the front row. He was a thin man with glasses and nervous hands, but his voice was steady. "I led the team that developed most of these systems," Porter said. "The project is called Hammer. The main weapon is a gravitational pulse generator. It creates a focused wave of force that can disable ships without destroying them. We can knock out their power, their weapons, their engines, all without killing the crews inside. Why would we want to spare their crews? Another voice asked. Because we are not murderers, President replied. If we fight to win, not to commit genocide. The Council has thousands of ships and billions of soldiers. We cannot kill our way to victory, but we can show them that the cost of fighting us is too high. Commander Dawson entered the chamber. She had just arrived from the Orbital Defense Station, where she served as the tactical specialist aboard the Resolute. She was young for her rank, only 34, but Admiral Cole trusted her completely. I have analyzed the Council's military strength, Dawson said. Their fleet is large, but it is slow and outdated. Most Council species have not fought a real war in centuries. They use intimidation, not combat. Their formations are designed to look impressive, not to fight effectively. She pulled up tactical data on the screen. Ship movements, response times, weapons accuracy ratings. If we fight smart, we can win. Not by destroying their fleet, but by breaking their confidence. They expect us to surrender after the first shot. When we do not, they will not know what to do. The debate continued for hours. Some argued for accepting the tribute to buy more time. Others said that surrendering once would mean surrendering forever. Some wanted to fight. Some wanted to negotiate. Finally, President called for silence. I have listened to every argument, he said. I have considered every option, and I have made my decision. Earth will refuse the tribute. The room erupted in noise, raised his hand and waited for quiet. We will refuse, but we will do it publicly. We will do it in front of the entire Council. We will show every species in the galaxy that humanity does not kneel. Some of them are afraid to stand up. Maybe our example will give them courage. Maybe it will not, but we cannot control what others do. We can only control what we do. He turned to Admiral Cole. Prepare the fleet. Activate all defense systems. If they come for us, we will be ready. Cole nodded, yes, sir. Looked directly into the camera that would broadcast his message to the Galactic Council. His face was calm, but his voice carried the weight of billions of lives. I am going to send a response to High Chancellor. I want every human to hear it, and I want every alien species to hear it too. He took a breath and began speaking. To the Galactic Council, you have demanded tribute from Earth. You have demanded our resources, our soldiers, and our freedom. You have told us that if we refuse, we will be expelled and left alone to face the darkness. I speak now for all of humanity. We refuse. We will not give you our minerals. We will not give you our children. We will not give you the food that feeds our families. These things are ours. We built them. We grew them. We earned them. You call us young. You call us weak. You think we survived only because of your protection. You are wrong. Humanity has survived ice ages, plagues, wars, and disasters. We have survived because we never give up. We never stop fighting. We never surrender who we are. If you want tribute from Earth, you are welcome to come and take it. But you will pay a price that you cannot imagine. We are not afraid of you. We have been preparing for this day since the moment we met you. This is humanity's answer. We stand alone if we must, but we stand. The message ended. The chamber was silent. Admiral Cole turned to Commander Dawson. Get to the Resolute. We have 9 days before they arrive. Dawson saluted and left immediately. The war for Earth's freedom had begun. The Grand Assembly Hall fell completely silent when the message from Earth finished playing. Ambassador Laura stood at the speaker's platform, her hands steady at her sides, watching the faces of 36 alien species as they processed what they had just heard. No one moved, no one spoke. High Chancellor was the first to react. He rose from his seat slowly, his gray face darker than usual. his unblinking eyes fixed on Laura with an intensity that made her skin cold. "This is your answer?" he asked. His voice was quiet, which made it more frightening than if he had shouted. "Your species chooses death over contribution." "My species chooses freedom over slavery," Laura replied. "There is a difference." Walked down from his elevated position until he stood only a few feet from her. He was much taller than any human, and he used that height now, looking down at her like she was something small and unimportant. "You have been part of this council for 12 years, he said. "In that time, we have protected your trade routes. We have shared our technology with you. We have treated you as equals even though you are children compared to us. And this is how you repay our kindness." "Kindness?" Laura repeated. "You protected our trade routes because you wanted access to our goods. You shared technology because you wanted to study us. You treated us as equals because you thought we were too weak to matter. This tribute demand shows what you really think of humanity. We are resources to you, nothing more." The hall began to fill with murmurs. Representatives leaned toward each other, whispering in languages that Laura could not understand. Some looked angry. A few looked almost impressed. Raised his hand and the whispers stopped. "The council has rules," he said. "Species that refuse their obligations are expelled. Earth is hereby removed from the Galactic Council. You have no allies, you have no protection, you have no rights under our laws." "We accept that," Laura said. "Furthermore," continued, "since Earth has refused to provide tribute voluntarily, the Council authorizes a collection fleet to take what is owed by force." Laura felt her heart beat faster, but she kept her face calm. "How large a fleet?" 400 warships from 12 species, answered. "Commanded by Admiral of the Dominion. They will depart tomorrow. They will arrive at your system in 9 of your Earth days. When they arrive, your species will have one final chance to surrender. If you refuse again, the fleet will take what it needs and destroy anyone who resists." Laura looked around the hall. Most of the representatives avoided her eyes, but she noticed 3 species watching her closely. The small and quick with their rust-colored fur. The tall and thin with skin that changed color based on their emotions. They who looked almost like large insects but were known for their wisdom and patience. "I understand," Laura said. "I will inform my government." The session ended. Laura walked toward the exit, but before she reached the door, someone called her name. She turned and found herself facing a representative named Talek. His eyes were bright and nervous. "Ambassador," Talek said quietly, "what your president said in that message, it was remarkable." "Remarkable does not mean wise," Laura replied. "Perhaps not," Talek admitted, "but it was brave. My people have been part of the council for 600 years. We have paid tribute many times. We have sent our young to fight in wars that did not concern us. We have always obeyed because we were afraid of what would happen if we did not." 2 other figures approached. A named, whose skin was shifting between blue and gold, and a named, whose large compound eyes reflected the light like crystals. "We heard the message too," said. "Many of our people have been waiting for someone to say those words, someone brave enough to refuse." "Will you support us?" Laura asked. The 3 aliens looked at each other. Their silence was answer enough. "Not yet," said finally. "We are afraid. The Council has controlled this galaxy for 10,000 years. No one has ever successfully them." "Then what are you telling me?" Laura asked. "We are telling you that if you survive the collection fleet, things will change," Talek said. "If you prove that the Council can be resisted, others will follow. But someone has to go first. Someone has to show that it is possible." Laura nodded slowly. "Humanity will be that someone." She returned to her quarters and sent an urgent message to Earth. 9 days, 400 ships, Admiral commanding. The response came from Captain Daniel Grant of the Resolute. His face filled her screen, strong and determined. "We received your report, Ambassador. The fleet is already moving into position. We will meet them at the edge of the solar system, near Neptune. 47 ships against 400, Laura said. Are you sure about this? Grant smiled slightly. 112 ships, Ambassador, the real number, plus 3,000 defense satellites that the Council does not know exist, and weapons they have never seen before. What if it is not enough? Then we die free, Grant said. But I do not plan on dying, I plan on winning. Laura closed her eyes for a moment. When she opened them, she felt something she had not felt since this crisis began. Hope. I will stay here on Nexus Prime, she said. Whatever happens, the galaxy needs to see a human standing in the heart of the Council, refusing to back down. Stay safe, Ambassador. Stay alive, Captain. The connection ended. Laura walked to her window and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, 400 warships were preparing to attack her home, and somewhere closer, humanity was preparing to meet them. She thought about Talik and 3 species who wanted to resist but were too afraid to act. How many others felt the same way? How many had been waiting for centuries for someone to show them that the Council was not invincible? Earth would show them. Win or lose, humanity would show the entire galaxy what it meant to refuse surrender. 9 days until the fleet arrived. 9 days to change history. The collection fleet emerged from hyperspace near Neptune in a wave of blue light. 400 warships spread across the darkness like a wall of metal and fire. Admiral of the Dominion stood on the command bridge of his flagship, looking at the tactical display with confidence. The humans had positioned their fleet between Neptune and Saturn. According to his sensors, they had less than 50 ships. Small, outdated, pathetic. Open a channel to the human vessels, commanded. His voice was deep and harsh, like stones grinding together. A communication officer nodded. Channel open, Admiral. Attention, human fleet. I am Admiral. You have refused the lawful tribute demanded by the Galactic Council. You have been warned of the consequences. This is your final opportunity to surrender. Power down your weapons and engines. Prepare to be escorted to Earth, where we will collect what is owed. Refuse, and you will be destroyed. He waited. The response came quickly. Captain Daniel Grant appeared on the. He was sitting in the command chair of the Resolute, surrounded by his crew. He did not look afraid. Admiral, Grant said calmly, humanity has already given you our answer. We do not surrender, we do not pay tribute, and we do not fear you. If you want to take our resources, you will have to go through us. Laughed, it was not a pleasant sound. Through 50 ships, my fleet will crush you in minutes. Then come and try, Grant replied. The screen went dark. Turned to his tactical officer. All ships, advance in standard formation. Destroy anyone who resists. The collection fleet began to move forward. Their formation was beautiful in a way. Hundreds of ships arranged in perfect geometric patterns, designed to intimidate and overwhelm. This was how the Council had won every conflict for thousands of years. They showed their strength, and their enemies gave up before the fighting even started. But the humans did not move. They held their position, waiting. Lieutenant Ben Torres sat at the weapons console aboard the Resolute. His hands were steady, but his heart was pounding. He had trained for this moment his entire career, but training was different from reality. In training, no one actually died. Enemy fleet entering optimal range in 3 minutes, Torres reported. Commander Dawson stood beside Captain Grant, studying the tactical display. She had analyzed the Council's combat patterns for months. She knew their weaknesses better than they knew them themselves. They are overconfident, Dawson said. They expect us to break formation and run. When we do not, they will not know how to adapt. Grant nodded. All ships hold position. Do not fire until my command. The collection fleet came closer. 2 minutes, 1 minute, 30 seconds. Admiral watched the humans refuse to retreat. Strange. Perhaps they were paralyzed by fear. Perhaps they had accepted death. Either way, it did not matter. His ships would tear them apart. "All forward batteries fire," ordered. Hundreds of energy beams shot toward the human fleet. On any normal day, those beams would have destroyed half of the enemy ships in seconds. But this was not a normal day. The beams hit something invisible, a shield, but not like any shield had ever seen. The energy scattered across a barrier that surrounded the entire human formation. "What is that?" demanded. Before anyone could answer, the space around the collection fleet lit up with thousands of points of light. Defense satellites, hidden in the darkness for years, activated all at once. They fired coordinated bursts of energy at the Council ships, targeting engines and weapons systems with perfect accuracy. 30 ships lost power in the first 10 seconds. "Impossible," whispered. Captain Grant smiled grimly. "All ships engage. Commander Dawson, execute pattern storm." The human fleet exploded into motion. They moved faster than any ships the Council had ever encountered, weaving through the enemy formation like water through rocks. Their weapons fired with precision, hitting critical systems while avoiding populated areas of enemy ships. Torres activated his targeting computer. "Project Hammer is ready, Captain." "Do it," Grant ordered. The Resolute fired a weapon that looked like a pulse of distorted space. It hit the center of the Council formation and expanded outward. 70 ships went dark instantly, their power systems overloaded by gravitational forces their technology could not understand. Admiral watched his tactical display turn red as ship after ship reported critical damage. His perfect formation was falling apart. His fleet, the pride of 12 species, was being torn to pieces by creatures the Council had dismissed as primitives. "Admiral, we have lost 130 ships," his tactical officer reported. "Another 90 are severely damaged." "That is impossible," repeated. "They only have 50 ships." "Our sensors were wrong, Admiral. They have over 100, and their weapons are far more advanced than anything in our database." Gripped the railing of his command platform. For the first time in his long military career, he felt uncertainty. He had fought dozens of battles and never lost, but those battles had been against species that were already defeated before the fighting began. The humans were different. They were fighting back, and they were winning. "All ships fall back," ordered. The words tasted bitter in his mouth. "Regroup at coordinates 77 Mark III." The Council fleet retreated, what remained of it at least. On the Resolute, the crew erupted in cheers. Commander Dawson allowed herself a small smile. Lieutenant Torres leaned back in his chair and let out a breath he had been holding for what felt like hours. Captain Grant did not celebrate. He looked at the damage reports from his own fleet. 11 ships destroyed, 8 more heavily damaged, 312 crew members dead. "We won," Dawson said. "Captain, we actually won." "We won the battle," Grant replied quietly. "The war is not over yet. The Council will not accept this. They will come back with more ships, more weapons, more determination. We hurt them today. We surprised them, but they will adapt." He stood up and addressed the fleet through the communication system. "This is Captain Grant. What we did today will be remembered for generations. We proved that humanity cannot be bullied. We proved that we are not weak, not primitive, and not afraid. But this is only the beginning. The Council will return, and when they do, we will be ready. Today, we defended our home. Tomorrow, we will defend our future." Far away, on Nexus Prime, Ambassador Laura received the news. She read the casualty reports with sadness, but also with pride. Humanity had stood against the full might of the Galactic Council and survived. Now it was her turn to finish what the fleet had started. The news of the battle spread through the galaxy like fire through dry grass. Within hours, every species in the Council knew what had happened. The mighty collection fleet, 400 warships strong, had been defeated by the youngest member species. The humans, who everyone had dismissed as weak and primitive, had broken the Council's military power in a single day. High Chancellor sat alone in his private chambers on Nexus Prime, reading the reports again and again. Half of the fleet lost, Admiral forced to retreat, human casualties minimal compared to the Council's losses. For 300 years had led the Council without serious challenge. He had maintained order through a simple system: show strength, demand obedience, punish resistance. It had worked perfectly because no one had ever truly resisted. Species complained sometimes, but they always obeyed in the end. Until now. His communication console lit up with incoming messages. Representatives from a dozen species wanted to speak with him. Some were demanding action against the humans. Others were asking questions he did not want to answer. And 3 messages came from species he had not expected to hear from at all. The and the had formally withdrawn from the tribute agreement. Read their statements with growing anger. They cited humanity's example. They spoke of fairness and equality. They used words that had not been spoken in the council chambers for centuries. The door to his chambers opened. His senior advisors entered, their faces grave. "High Chancellor," one of them said, "we have received more withdrawals. 7 additional species have refused to pay tribute. They say if the Council could not defeat the humans, it cannot protect anyone." Stood up slowly. "Call an emergency session, all representatives now." 2 hours later, the Grand Assembly Hall was full again. But the atmosphere was different from before. Representatives who had once sat quietly now spoke in loud voices. Groups that had never interacted before were gathering together, exchanging ideas and concerns. Ambassador Laura sat in her usual seat in the back rows. She had not been invited to this session, but no one had stopped her from entering either. The rules were unclear when it came to expelled species. High Chancellor took his place at the center of the hall. He raised his hand for silence, but the voices continued for several seconds before fading. That had never happened before. "The Council faces a crisis," began. "Our military action against the humans has failed. Several species have withdrawn from the tribute agreement. There is talk of reform, of change, of new ways of organizing our alliance." He paused, looking around the hall. "I have a proposal. Earth will be invited to rejoin the Council with full membership rights. Their tribute will be reduced to a level they find acceptable. In exchange, they will share their military technology with us and help defend against the Void Swarm." Laura stood up, all eyes turned to her. "High Chancellor," she said, "humanity appreciates your offer, but we cannot accept." His eyes narrowed. "You refuse peace." "We refuse compromise that does not address the real problem," Laura replied. "Reducing our tribute means nothing if the tribute system continues to exist. Other species will still be forced to give away their resources and their children. Other civilizations will still be treated as servants instead of partners." She walked toward the center of the hall. No one stopped her. "Humanity did not fight the collection fleet to get special treatment for ourselves. We fought because the system itself is wrong. We fought because no species should have to buy protection with slavery. We fought because the Council should be an alliance of equals, not a hierarchy of masters and servants." The hall was completely silent now. "Earth will rejoin the Council on one condition," Laura continued. "The tribute system is abolished completely. Every species contributes what they can, voluntarily, based on their capabilities and their needs. No forced soldiers, no mandatory resources, no punishment for those who cannot give as much as others." Laughed, but it sounded hollow. "Impossible. The tribute system has maintained order for 10,000 years. Without it, species will become selfish. They will refuse to help each other. The alliance will fall apart." "With respect, High Chancellor, the tribute system maintained your control, not order," Laura said. "True alliances are built on trust and mutual benefit, not fear and obligation. If species only work together because they are forced to, that is not an alliance. That is an empire. Talik of the stood up. Earth is right. My people have paid tribute for 600 years. We did it because we were afraid. But fear is not loyalty. The humans have shown us that we do not have to be afraid anymore. Of the Rose next. The support the human proposal. We call for a vote on abolishing the tribute system. More representatives stood. The one by one, species that had been silent for centuries found their voices. Watched the growing rebellion with something close to despair. His power was crumbling. The system he had built his life around was falling apart. Very well, he said finally, we will vote. The vote was close. 20 species supported abolishing the tribute, 16 opposed, 1 abstained. The tribute system, 10,000 years old, was ended. 3 weeks later, Captain Daniel Grant stood in the Grand Assembly Hall as a hero. The crew of the Resolute had been invited to receive the Council's highest honor for their role in changing galactic history. Commander Dawson, Lieutenant Ben Torres, and dozens of other crew members stood beside him. Grant accepted the honor with grace, but his speech was short. We did not fight to become heroes, he said. We did not fight to prove that humans are better than anyone else. We fought because we believed that all species deserve freedom. All civilizations deserve respect. All people deserve the right to choose their own future. We hope that what happened here will be remembered not as a human victory, but as a victory for everyone who ever wanted something better than fear and force. The hall applauded. Even some species who had opposed the change seemed moved by his words. Later that day, Laura met with Talik, and in a quiet corner of Nexus Prime. You changed everything, Talik said. The galaxy will never be the same. Laura smiled. We did not do it alone. You stood up when it mattered. Others followed your example. We followed yours first, replied. On Earth, President addressed a united planet. For the first time in human history, there was no war, no conflict, no division. Everyone had watched the battle together. Everyone had waited for the vote together. And now everyone celebrated together. Today we proved something important, said. Not just to the galaxy, but to ourselves. We proved that humanity will never accept injustice, even when fighting it seems impossible. We proved that standing for what is right is more important than staying safe. And we proved that when we stand together, nothing in the universe can break us. Far away, on a small space station near the edge of known space, a group of young aliens gathered around a human teacher. They were children from different species, brought together by curiosity and a desire to learn. Tell us about Earth, one of them asked. Tell us about the humans who changed everything. The teacher smiled and began her story. It started with a simple word, she said. The word was no. The Galactic Council demanded tribute and humanity said no. They said that freedom cannot be bought or sold. They said that every species has the right to choose its own path. And then they proved it, not with words but with courage. The children listened with wide eyes. Remember this lesson, the teacher continued. The galaxy is a big place, full of powerful beings who will try to tell you what to do. But power is not the same as right. Strength is not the same as wisdom. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is stand up and refuse. That is what humanity taught us. That is what we must never forget. Outside the station, the stars shone bright and endless, full of possibilities that no one could imagine. And among those stars, humanity had taken its place, not as servants or soldiers, but as equals. Free at last,